us. I am Rotimi Akinsde. Welcome to your viewpoint. This is where we get to talk about moral issues and, of course, provide possible solutions to societal challenges. Today, we're talking about reducing drug abuse amongst youths in Nigeria. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has warned that the rate of drug abuse among Nigerian youths is increasing and endangering the productive potential of the youth population needed to drive more vibrant economy. About 14.3 million youths were reportedly involved in substance abuse as of 2018, according to National Drug Use Survey. And there are signs that the figures have grown higher 4 years after. So the point of discussion this afternoon is to see how we can provide solutions to reducing drug abuse amongst youths in Nigeria. I have guests in the studio. I have a mental health practitioner, Bukola Lami. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I also have a pharmacist in the studio. I will be talking about some other issues relating to our topic this afternoon. Mary Popola.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. All right, straight to business. Let's look at the issues surrounding drug abuse in Nigeria. Let's look at what we know, looking at real life situations. Yes, let's look at what people do today, especially youths, how drug abuse has affected them. But then before we talk about that, it's important to look at the rate at which drug abuse is being controlled in Nigeria. So I will start with the mental health practitioner here. What is your take?
Thank you. So before we even look at the rate, I really need people to understand what substance, we don't say drug abuse.
Okay.
Because we are trying to adjust the language.
Okay.
So we say substance use disorder.
Okay.
So most times when you say drug abuse, it sounds, it's like you're stigmatizing some kind of people. So it's substance use, because people don't only abuse drugs, they abuse substances. Okay. So when you say something is drug, that means you're limiting it to just drugs. So basically it's substance use, abuse and all that. So, first you need to know what a substance is. You need to identify it before you know that you are abusing it. And my pharmacist there can confirm that it is not only drugs that is being abused, even prescriptions, medications. So far you are going beyond, far above the dosage or whatever they are, you have been given to take for a particular thing. So people don't really even know how to control these things. And why is it like that? It's because people want to use it to, in place of something. They want to subdue something. They want to get something from it. And that leads to addiction. So most times, substance use doesn't really start because people want to abuse it. People want to use it for their own benefits.
So are you saying most drug abuse issues are not intentional?
Most of them are not intentional. In fact, most of them, from my own experience as a mental health practitioner, I've come to realize that most people who abuse substances actually wouldn't know that they will get addicted to it. They just wanted to solve a problem at that time. But what this thing does to the system makes them addicted to it. So they find themselves not being able to detach themselves away from these particular substances. So hardly will you find anyone who is addicted to substance use now who has the intention of staying or being addicted to that substance. They actually want to, have a relief or want to solve a problem. So the problem now creates another problem. The problem creates, so it goes on like that till it becomes an addiction.
All right, you're a pharmacist. You want to add something to that? Considering the fact that there are lots of substances out there, and some people would want to talk about the hard drugs and some other type of drug. When you talked about substance, now where do we place hard drugs, so to speak? Where do we place hard drugs? You're a pharmacist, so let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. So while my colleague mentioned, I wanted us to not change the topic, but address the matter. So what is drug abuse? So when you talk about drug abuse, you want to look at using a medication as maybe a person is asked to use a drug at a particular time once the person is not using it at that particular time, that's drug abuse. If you are taking a drug and then you're supposed to take 2-3 times daily, you're probably taking 4-5 times daily, that's drug abuse.
So it can work faster.
Let's actually define what drug abuse is. That's why she's saying is substance abuse. So when we bring it down home, we can now say, okay, so what are they taking? What exactly are they taking? What exactly are they abusing? But if it's drug abuse, it can be, it's not just cocaine, morphines, the ones, just like the street guys will call Rev and the likes.
In fact, there's one they call loud.
Wow.
Yes, and you begin to wonder, what exactly is this? Does it make you speak loud?
The characteristics, so the effect of those drugs after taking them is what make them give them those names. Yes, so there are some that can actually make them extremely high. So they can, some can go as far as making them do sex more than 5 times. Wow. So because of the effects that they get from these drugs is what makes them give them those street names that we have. So drug abuse in its entirety is not just abusing substances like the cocaine, the morphines and all the likes, and even cough syrups are being abused. So if we want to look at it in totality, drug abuse cuts down to every individual taking drugs. You have an headache, you are saying that, oh, because I have an headache, let me take a paracetamol. It's the simplest of drug. Hope you know that that paracetamol can lead to liver damage. So as simple as we consider paracetamol.
Okay, where's the place of self-medication in all of this?
Okay, so there isn't supposed to be any self-medication at any point.
Does self-medication lead to drug abuse?
Yes, it does. So when a person self-medicates, you are not feeling fine. So there's a case of someone that reported in the hospital some days ago, and then he was complaining of headache. So the doctor treated him based on his complaints, and he said he's been coming to the hospital for the past 6 months for the same headache until he saw another practitioner. That was when they discovered that this young boy, is actually less than 20, has been abusing a particular substance. So if they didn't get to the root of the matter, or maybe that kind of a person complained to his mother and then they just say take paracetamol or go and buy tramadol or go and buy this, that's actually substance abuse. So it's actually better to see the health practitioner, to see your doctor, get diagnosed, get tested before you take any drug at all.
All right, let me come in there. Of course, you and I understand the fact that people, advertisers, do a lot of advertisement when it comes to drugs, or substance, as you called it earlier.
Yes.
Now, when they advertise, they tell you, okay, you can use this for this, especially malaria. You know, a lot of malaria drugs we have and all of that. We don't have to mention names. And now what the advertisement is saying that, of course, you can use this. So now let's see how we can separate self-medication and the issue of advertisement. How does it not affect people? How does it not tell people to go self-medicate? What's your opinion?
So actually, there are some drugs that are referred to as over-the-counter medicines.
OTC.
Yes, you don't require prescriptions to buy those drugs. That's why a common person will say that, oh, I have headache, these are the symptoms of malaria, I will go and get malaria. And obviously, we've heard that Nigeria seems to be the place where the headquarter of malaria, so to say, emphasis mine now. So some people will just say, oh, these symptoms, from several visits to the hospital, I presume this is malaria. So people do that, and then thanks to the pharmacy world, every junction or every nooks and cranny, you have a pharmacy. You walk in and then you get the drug. So people at that level can self-medicate. The internet has made it a lot more easier. You Google your symptoms and then you are going there to buy based on your symptoms. So when you when you walk in, so self-medication is not supposed to come to play. So when a person says their symptoms, even at the level of the pharmacy is supposed to ask them to go and run a test. So people are not expected to self-medicate. So in the real fact of it, people are not expected.
So, but you mentioned some people who can self-medicate. Now there's something I need you to quickly clear. Who can self-medicate? Can some set of people self-medicate?
people that have the right information can self-medicate.
And when you talk about right information, what are the information you're talking
so
about?
we want to look at you want to look at someone that probably is in the sciences.
Okay.
Someone that has that has the knowledge.
But don't you think we have students who are not qualified yet? They do not have the license, to actually determine certain things. And because they have an idea, they feel they have the knowledge, they know what is malaria, they know the symptoms of this and all of that, and they want to prescribe. And usually you see people who seem to call themselves trainees. Maybe they are not in a particular school, medical school, so to speak. I don't want to mention auxiliary nurses, so to speak.
Okay.
And eventually it becomes a problem just because they have an idea. But before I come to you, what is your take on that?
Take on what essentially? You've said so many things.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that, what is your opinion on the issue of self-medication? Who are those set of people? She mentioned people who have the right information. So what is your opinion? Do you think all of those people who may have right information, who may have the information, in fact, a student of medical sciences may have an idea that, okay, you have malaria, okay, some people, they call their friends, hello, my friend, okay, you are a nurse now, can't you, and that person is not even qualified in the first place. What is your take? Isn't that leading to drug abuse?
All right, so I will continue from where she stopped.
Okay.
When you're talking about self-medication, because when you say somebody who has a knowledge in science, it's very subjective. I give an instance, because I have several experiences on things like this. From my mental health job, I come to realize that human beings are 99.9 identical. But we are 0.1 different.
Okay.
You say the 0.1 can lead somebody to suicide or death or anything. What do I mean? Because somebody told you the paracetamol, for instance, can cure headache, and the person has this experience, and it really cleared the headache. It doesn't mean that same paracetamol can cure your own headache, and that's one of the big issues that we're having with young people now. Because somebody actually told you this thing is working, use it. See, most of the drug use issues that we have is sometimes triggered by genes. Most of us have different genetical makeup. What am I saying? If I take a shot of a substance, it might not affect me because of my genetical makeup. But if another person takes that particular shot, it might lead to something else. So that is where I come in and bring in self-medication. Because somebody else did it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Self-medication is a total no for me, because it doesn't work for even the person who had worked for you. Still need a second line of authority, somebody who is higher or better than you. Everything happens here in Nigeria where, like she said, every step. If I've seen several pharmaceutical stores that have auxiliary, and they will tell you, and they'll be telling you things that you know, and you will be shocked. Am I right? And you're wondering where these people get this information from, and they are so sure about it. And these are the people the masses go to make, because it's cheaper, it's closer to them and all that. So self-medication is a no-no for me.
And you're saying it can actually lead to drug abuse.
Yes.
Because what brought about that?
Most times.
Yes, is that most of the time it can. Okay, we need to go on this break, and we are going to see a video about smiling. Yes, there's something we have there for you, the benefits of smiling. And after that break, we will be back. This is Your Viewpoint. Please go nowhere.
Did you know that smiling is contagious and helps prevent wrinkles? Smiling can be a conscious and intentional choice. It appears that whether your smile is genuine or not, it can act on your body and mind in a variety of positive ways, offering benefits for your health, your mood, and even to the moods of people around you. Smiling helps you live longer. Perhaps the most compelling reason to smile is that it may lengthen your overall lifespan. Happy people seem to enjoy better health and longevity. Research does suggest that happiness could increase lifespan by years. Positive mood may be an important part of living a healthy lifestyle. Smiling relieves stress. Smiling not only helps to prevent us from looking tired, worn down, and overwhelmed, but it can actually help decrease stress and makes you look younger. When you are stressed, take the time to put on a smile. You and those around you will reap the benefits. Smiling elevates mood. Next time you are feeling down, try to put on a smile. There's a good chance that your mood will change for the better. The physical act of smiling actually activates pathways in your brain that influence your emotional state, meaning that by adopting a happy facial expression, you can trick your mind into entering a state of happiness. Smiling is contagious. Smiling not only has the ability to elevate your mood, but it can also change the mood of others for the better. Your brain automatically notices and interprets other people's facial expressions, and sometimes you may even mimic them without knowing. Smiling boosts the immune system. Smiling can also boost your overall health by helping your immune system to function more effectively. It is thought that when you smile, your immune function improves because you are more relaxed.
Thank you so much for being there. We've been talking about substance abuse, and we've been talking about how it can happen. We talked about self-medication. Now we want to look at the differences between a number of words that are related to substance uses, so to speak. Substance misuse, abuse, overdose, toxicity, and all of that. So I'll go to Mary.
Okay, thank you very much once again. So apparently when you look at substances and how it's being abused, in the first instance, the production of these drugs was not meant for harm. Yes, so when a person is in severe pain, take for example those with the sickle cell pain, when they come down with those pain, sometimes what they give is pentazocine, and it takes care of the pain.
What's that pentazocine?
Pentazocine is actually a drug.
Okay.
Yes, it's an injection that takes care of pain.
Okay.
So the initial reason why this drug was produced is to take care of severe pain. And over time, because of the way a person feels after taking such, would make the person want to go for it again. That, I don't have, my threshold of pain is very little. Let me go for something that would actually take the pain off within a split second. But that's not the reason why it was produced. So, you can talk about morphine, cocaine, codeine, and the like. So their main aim for production was not actually for it to be abused. So when used at the right dose, when used at the right form, is meant to produce a pharmacological effect in the body of a person that is using that drug. So the moment a person that is supposed to take 2 tablets of paracetamol takes 3, it's called abuse. And you can also use misuse for that word as well. So the person now decides that I don't want to take maybe an antibiotics that is meant to be taken for 3 days. A person takes it for, or that is meant to be taken for 5 or 7 days. A person takes for 3 days, and the person is feeling okay. Oh, I'm okay. I'm all okay. The person stands up and says, which is what is causing a lot of resistance issue that we have today. So people feel okay. That in itself is also misuse. So we must not rule out the fact that somebody says, I'm not taking marijuana, so I'm not abusing substance. You are actually misusing it. So if you are supposed to use it for 5 days to get maximum effects, please use for 5 days. Apparently, if you decide to take it for just 3 days,
if it is prescribed.
In most cases.
If it is prescribed.
In most cases, it should be prescribed.
I think there's a need to talk about the fact that people listen to people who are not qualified and allow them to prescribe to them. What is your take on that? Considering our cultural sensibilities, so to speak.
Thank you very much. Back in medical school, what they would tell you is there's a definition of a prescription. One of it is that it has to come from an authorized prescriber. So if that person is not an authorized prescriber and you are taking from the person, oh, my friend is in medical school, is in his final year, is he or she an authorized prescriber? So we must attend to that as well. So if you are getting a prescription that is not from an authorized prescriber, you are wrong.
Who is an authorized prescriber?
A doctor licensed to practice in that country. So somebody in America or in other parts of the world, as long as the person is not licensed to practice in this country, is not considered an authorized prescriber in this country. So an authorized prescriber is someone that goes to school to understand ailments for this particular geographical location. So if a person prescribes for you from another parts of the world, yes, that is why in most cases, if you have to practice in any other parts of the world, you have to take exams to qualify you and do a number of internships to qualify you to practice in those places. So an authorized prescriber is someone that has been trained and licensed to practice in that location.
Just
yes,
the doctor?
Please.
Do we have other professionals who can prescribe?
Okay, so back in medical school, one of the things that that civilization is bringing to us is that a pharmacist who is meant to interpret the doctor's prescription now can prescribe. But the level to which that person prescribes is what differs the doctor, the consultant, the senior, the core practitioners from the pharmacist. So ordinarily what the pharmacist is meant to do is to interpret the prescription of the doctor. But today, because pharmacists are going into consultancy, pharmacists are upping their games, studying more particular about disease conditions. So at that level, they can be given privileges. So they are called privileges. It's not.
Let's look at. You've said a lot as regards abuse, misuse, but I wouldn't know if you want to emphasize more on toxicity. At what point do we use that word, toxicity, and how does it affect? Before I come back to it, let me ask Bukola, what's your take? All of these drugs, this substance, so to speak, at what point does it affect the brain? And during that break, the last break, I remember you talked about dopamine. Maybe it's something you want to touch now. Does it have any relationship with what substances will do to our mental health?
Okay, so why we're so very big on substance use and drug abuse is because of the effect these substances have in the brain. So we're trying to talk about dopamine and all that. So what makes people go back to this thing? What makes, like what she said, you feel you want to go back to this thing because it has given you a certain kind of feeling or relief. So what this thing does to the brain, when you take it, we call them fat solubles. So there are some particular substances that cannot penetrate the brain. But there are some particular substances that can, penetrate the brain because the fat solubles can penetrate the thin lining of the brain. So I'm going a bit deep into the brain and all that
I'm
now,
sure you
so
make
that
it
people will
simpler.
understand why we are big on this. So these things easily penetrates the brain, and what it does is it goes to that center where we have that dopamine. What is dopamine? Dopamine is like a secretion that gives excitement. So it's like you take something and it gives you a kind of relief, a succor, and you like that feeling, highness, so to speak. So, but the problem about you taking it is that it takes you from threshold 1 to threshold 2. So what does it mean? When you take it, it pulls you from your normal threshold. It pulls you away to a second or a higher level. So by the time you are taking that thing again, your threshold is becomes stretched. So let's take, for example, like what she said, you are used to taking two tablets of paracetamol. So you now say, no, this time around I want to take 3. So what your brain does, it gives a signal that 2 tablets will not be enough for you to have that highness.
And would you say that in a way brings about addiction?
Yes, that was actually what leads to addiction, which we are going to talk about. So it takes you from that level to the next level. So by the time you're taking 2 paracetamol, it's not going to be enough because your threshold has been expanded. So by the time you're getting to 3 tablets, you know, it stretches you again.
But you know,
it will not be enough.
You know, sometimes people say, "Oh, okay, you said it in your first response that sometimes what works for you, one shot may be good for you, it might not be good for me." Some people tell you, "Okay, the nature of my system doesn't allow me to take 2, I need to take 4." Some people say that out of the blues, you know, without anybody telling them that is exactly the issue. What is your take on that?
We are still talking about it. 50% of addiction or substance use disorder and all that is based on genetic factor. Okay. Like I told you earlier, I said there are some parts of the country, this Nigeria, and I've had experience where people, even young children, take alcohol and it doesn't affect them. It's genetical. If you try it and you are from another part of the world, it becomes an issue for you. But that doesn't mean that what they are taking has not really been affecting their mental health or their brain. So that's what I was trying to explain, that this thing excites dopamine in your system. So you love the feeling, you want to go back. And the more you go back to it, the more addiction, you know, comes in. And once you become addicted, it's difficult, you know, for you to stay away.
To withdraw.
Yes, because addiction is a disease. That's what I want a lot of people to know. Addiction is a disease. It's not a character flaw. Okay. It's not a personality disorder. It's not. It's just a disease. It's just like you having. It's like you having malaria. It's a brain. You know, the definition of this, according to World Health Organization, is a compulsive brain. Is a relapsing compulsive brain disease that makes you to want to go back to that thing that gives you comfort, despite the fact that this thing is killing you. You know that this thing is killing you, but it is beyond you.
All right. Now,
because you keep going back to it.
All right, you've said so much as regards that. All of those things you have mentioned, the addiction, the overuse, the abuse, and all of that. But then let's look at, and initially we also talked about the possible causes of substance abuse and all of that. Now let's look at what can be done. You realize that most of the time people have heard so much, seminars have been organized, the media is trying to enlighten people, sensitize. A lot of those things have been done. Yet we still have a lot of persons, youths, engaging in substance misuse, abuse, having addiction and all of that. Okay. What can be done?
Okay, so let me quickly jump on that before she comes in. Before we can solve a problem, we need to understand the root cause. As psychologists, we don't look at the surface. We try to go down, what is actually, because sometimes what you see on top may not necessarily be what is under. So we call something the root cause. We need to understand the problems. What are the issues? What brought about these issues in the first place? Why do youth go into drug abuse? Why do they, misuse drugs? You would want substances.
Okay.
Why? You will have to go to the family first, because family is the first unit for every nation. Every nation comes from a family, and 3 basic things from the family causes youth to go into most of these things. By the virtue of my experience as a mental health practitioner. The first one is value. Then we talk about value. What's the value of a family? What do you think about when you talk about family? What brings about this thing? So a lot of people, why they take this substance is because they want to feel better, they want to do better, and basically it's because of low self-esteem and low self-confidence. So people want to reach out, they want to talk, they want to express themselves, but they don't have the ability. And when you are on these particular substances, it gives you this kind of confidence that you can do anything. So like what she said initially, these things were not meant to be unhealthy in the first place. People do these things because they want to have a positive result. But in getting a positive result from these things, the continuous use now brings about the unhealthy part of it, which comes to addiction and all
right,
that.
You talked about family as one of the root causes of substance abuse in our society. And of course, you and I would want to agree that we have some persons that are not privileged to have members of their families around them and all of that. In that regard, it's one thing to have family members, people you are with, people you grew up with and all of that. But then we have some other persons that are raised by maybe organizations or some other person, maybe orphanages and all of that. What can be done? In what way can we reduce substance use from that perspective? How is that possible?
Okay.
Mary.
So I would come in by saying we need to increase awareness.
Okay.
So as much as information is going on, we would not stop sending out these informations, because the more you know, the better it is for you to make informed decisions. So if a person understands that the moment I take cannabis or marijuana, it goes straight to the brain. And after that, it damages the liver, the kidney. And then, of course, the person might feel good that first time, but over time, there's a damage of major organs of the body. And then if the person takes cocaine, what happens is that there's a massive destruction of the white blood cells. So over time, that too would affect the system. So if you keep informing people, keep telling them of the importance of these things, over time, I think it would result in what we are looking at.
All right, some people smoke, and they will tell you that, in fact, they write it on the pack.
Clearly written.
Yes, clearly written that smokers are liable to die young and all of that. And they tell you, I know one 90-year-old man, he's been smoking for more than 50 years, and he's still living healthy.
Is the level
how
of
would you respond to that?
Is the level of information that you are giving to such a person. So you have told this person that taking that smokers are liable to die young, then you can go a step further to tell him to examine the lungs of that 90 years old man. Yes, the man has lived for 90 years, but has he had those 90 years healthy? That's the question. So if you are saying that this person has lived for so long and the effect of this thing has not caught up with the person, still go down to answer the question, how healthy has that man's life been who has been taking that substance? So at that point, you can now draw your conclusion.
And also,
okay. All right.
And also the focal point of individuality. Remember, I mentioned something very, very important. I said
at the beginning,
99.9
yes.
of us are identical. But you see the 0.1 that makes you to be different from the other person can be a trigger for you. So if you use another person as a yardstick that, Mr. A has been smoking for the last 90 years and nothing, but you're not Mr. A.
That is it.
So you're not supposed to function on that, template, because yes. So you need to understand that 0.1% that makes you unique as a person. That might trigger addiction, and that might trigger any other unhealthy.
All right, in that regard, you'll be talking about peer pressure.
Yes.
Because it's part of what most youths do. But then, can we really blame youths, concerning this? I want to believe there's some other persons in the society that are responsible for all of this. But then, we need to go on this break. And when we're back, we will be talking more about this. We'll have sports, something in the world of sports for you. And right after that, we're on the street to listen to what people had to say about this issue. And we'll be back. Please go nowhere.
The president of Nigerian Volleyball Federation, Engineer Musa Nimrod, has congratulated Nigeria Under-19 Boys Volleyball team for qualifying for the Under-19 FIVB Boys World Championship in 2023 after the emphatic final victory. The team defeated Egypt 3-0 in the final at the just concluded Under-19 Boys African Nations Volleyball Championship in Morocco on Sunday. Nigeria Under-19 Boys are back-to-back champions of the Under-19 Boys African Nations Volleyball Championship. The volleyball coach, Mr. Adewale Badamosi, at the Nigerian Institute of Sports Lagos, appraised the qualifying volleyball match between Nigeria and Egypt, while also highlighting the way forward to project Nigerian volleyball in international sports.
My name is Coach Adewale Badamosi, Kwara United volleyball coach. Okay, thank you very much. I want you to realize that Nigeria is the defending champion. We won the last edition, and with the only difference that was there is the head coach of that team is now transferred to under 21. But the second coach was the one who took them to Morocco, and the crop of players we have, they are young players, trained together for a very long time, and with their determination, they went there and played as they played last year to retain the cup. It's a good outing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, first and foremost, I want to commend the effort of the president, Nigeria Volleyball Federation, Engineer Musa Nimrod. In fact, he has turned volleyball in Nigeria to greater thing, because that is why in a year, consistently, Nigeria will feature in any international competition, both male and female. So now is exposure, because what we need is exposure. If you expose these players, they will have advantage of meeting other countries, and with that, now they prepare for the World Cup now, because they've played with North Africans, and some other countries. So it's a good thing, coming from the president. I really commend him. He has turned volleyball around. Yes, I just want to say that the president should continue his good work, and I want to encourage all the players to do that. Volleyball is good. Most of these players that played under 21, they have gotten clubs in Dubai, and other North African, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and so on and so on. Then one good thing about this under 19 is that like 2 or 3 of our players in Kwara State were in the team. And also coupled with the fact that we are preparing for Premier League in Akure. Yes, the first match will take place today. So at least it's a good thing that the competition is happening in Nigeria. That is why we have players. Yeah, very, very well. As you can see, volleyball is moving in Nigeria, winning Africa championships. It's a good thing, both senior and underage. Nigeria cannot be pushed away, and we have a lot of players that is coming up, very young players that can make the national team, and organizing competition is good to build them up. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I want to commend the NIS, because I'm schooling here, and despite the fact that I'm a league coach, if you are not here, you are not a coach. If you are getting experience but without coming to this NIS, that experience is not complete. So I've learned a lot here, and I want to encourage them that they should continue with what they are doing, so that they will produce coaches that will be able to fit in anywhere in the world. Yes, I want to give it to them. Yeah.
Nigeria is the first sub-Saharan African country to win the championship twice and attend the World Championship twice. Nigeria under 19 boys team will be attending their third FIVB World Championship in 2023 under the leadership of Musa Nimrod.
It's written all over. Like for instance, if you smoke, if you buy a pack of cigarettes, it's written there smokers are liable to die young. So they are aware. Peer pressure. Peer pressure is number one. My friend is doing it, let me also do it. Number two is I want to belong syndrome. This guy is a street ruggedity. I want to be part of the street ruggedity. So they will not do it with their clear eyes and clear conscience. They will also do with something that will intoxicate them, something that will make them high. So that's what causes youth involvement in drugs.
Youth are aware, but it's just that most youth want to survive. So they've looked at it that the only means of surviving, since there's no job, nothing, they'll prefer to go into drug addiction, which is not appropriate, which is not advisable. When you are addicted to drug abuse, it makes one go mental.
The health effect, and usually I'm not sure if but at least from what I've seen around, usually you see them that they don't you see a vibrant young guy or young lady that you know, men looking or maybe men talking to the person, you know that they have if not for the drug, you know, they will have been able to achieve a lot of things in life. But because of the drug, or I don't know how they come about it, you just realize that whatever dreams or aspiration they have will just be, you know, hampered, because they won't be able to, because that will have taken over them and they won't be able to, you know, think straight and even relate well with people. We have some areas in Lagos that when you go to, in fact, you don't need, okay, I work in the church, and as a worker, you know, I've seen a lot of youth coming in with various excuses. I have this, I need that, and at the end of the day, you realize that this social person is into drug.
Yes, I think they are aware of the effect of drug abuse. I think drug abuse is more or less like an addiction. So you know this is bad, but because you are addicted to it, you just keep taking it, so you just can't stop. So it's more of an addiction problem than when you're addicted, you just don't give two shit about what happens to your health at the end of the day. I just feel some people could be peer pressure, some others mostly, you know, this thing starts from let's say the teenage age. Some people it's just peer pressure, they just go into it because, oh, it's cool, my friends are doing it, let me do it too. Why some others bad friends and all. So it's just there's no you cannot just say this is what causes this or that. It's just people and how they grow up. So I will still have to blame the society and the family.
Thank you so much for being there. All right, you've listened to what people had to say on this issue. Bukola, you were going to say something as regards that.
Yes, I was listening, and it's quite interesting. And like what we earlier mentioned, family, belongingness, peer pressure. So let me quickly say this as a child psychologist. You know, when people say children or young people have peer pressure, you need to understand the brain of a child. The brain of a child is developed with what we call curiosity. Every child is curious about the environment, and you cannot take that away from them. And that is where the role of family comes in. You know, I was talking about values, rules, and roles. Then, when these things are in place and the family is not dysfunctional, then you'll be able to balance peer pressure. I mean, everybody must go through that level, especially in teenage years. We call it, you know, precarious age. Is the age where they are trying to find themselves, they're trying to detach themselves from the family, and they're trying to find a way to belong to the society. And if they are not easily, you know, detached from their family to integrate into the system, that is where substance use comes to play. Why peer pressure? You know, young people want to belong. They want to look like, yes, I'm part of the society as well. And one of the ways where other people initiate them is through this substance use, so that you know that, okay, you're a guy, you have arrived. But when they come from, you know, a functional family that has, you know, roles, rules, and value, those three things are very critical. It's a bit difficult for them to get addicted.
All right, we need to also look into our educational institutions. Don't forget that we have students who come from, or youths from, functional families, families with values and all of that. They get to school, then they change. What do you think went wrong?
Okay, so while she was speaking, I quickly want to add something on family. You know, the role of family cannot be overemphasized. So recently I was reading, I was doing a little research, and then the American system, the American government sometimes was looking at what is the major cause of juvenile delinquents. And then I think they mentioned something like juvenile delinquents started the moment that their women started to go to work.
Wow.
So, and then over a period of time, they said they started noticing that the value of juvenile delinquents increased to about 90%. So when you look at that, yes, as much as we say that the woman should also go to work, we are looking at the woman in the workplace and all of that. And then we are saddling the responsibility of taking care of children on the women alone. It's actually not supposed to be the women alone, it's supposed to be both parents. So if everybody does what they are supposed to do, you know, we study about becoming a doctor, we study about becoming a pharmacist and every other professional, but we don't study about becoming parents. So when a person is grown, I feel like I'm grown, and then I go ahead and start bearing children. I have not prepared for these children, prepare for every of their stages. You know, a parent is meant to be prepared for every part of a child's growing up years. So as much as possible, the educational platform has a part to play. The place of the family still cannot be overemphasized.
And interestingly, some of these people you find in educational institutions are also parents. Yes. You want to wonder how they are helping youth to get better. But away from that, you must have seen some videos. You see, I want to talk about the media now. What you think the media can do in that respect. Now you see some musical videos where you see some things that are not, ideal, which can actually pressurize, youths to getting into some funny behaviors. What's your take on that? Can we really do something about that?
Yes, we can do something. We can do something about the media, because whatever is going out there is being censored by a body. So whatever comes to play, we can look at the internet. A person can stay in the corner of his room and stream something live.
But then internet is another issue now. Even if you try to censor the mainstream media, the internet is available for everybody. Now you begin to wonder, is it possible, or should the internet be censored as well? I know in some families, they try to limit what they see or what they watch on the internet. How can that help? Bukola?
Okay, so in my own world,
very briefly.
Yes, in my own world, I believe that there are so many things you cannot control. So you don't focus on what you cannot control.
Okay.
So you cannot control media to a large extent. All those things are external. What you can control is internal. If you have friends who smoke, and you have what we call self-actualization, you know who you are, and you have friends who smoke, you may not necessarily be pressured into smoking, but you can have them as friends. So your internal should be heavier than what you see externally, because when we say, okay, I give a quick example of this child sexual abuse that people talk about, tell children not to wear short skirts, tell them, that is not the issue.
Okay.
The issue is because when you go abroad, you see people wearing short skirts, and
so
people have control
because of
over
time.
it.
In that regard,
your internal control, your internal should control the external.
The external, and I think that's where
Very
the family
important.
comes
That's
in.
where the family comes. So
they should
when you
start as
build
early
a child,
as possible.
yes, you have
all right.
to inculcate
I also need us to also think about lyrics, songs, what you listen to, and all of that. Different names. And during the break, remember we talked about religious leaders, what they can do. In just one sentence, what do you think religious leaders can do? How can they help? Can they really help? To what extent?
Religious leaders can help a lot. So she mentioned earlier that when a person is having certain issues, the first person they want to call is their pastor. So a man that speaks to a congregation, maybe
pastors,
3 times,
and all of that.
yes, 3 times a week, once a week, they can influence their decisions, because over time they have influenced some other decisions that they take in their everyday life. So they have a role to play in curbing drug abuse as well.
All right, we've talked about a whole lot of issues here. What can be done? What are the possible causes of drug abuse, especially amongst youths in Nigeria, and what we can do to ensure that all of these things do not increase, so to speak. But before we go, what is your parting shot?
Okay.
For youth and for social agents, so to speak,
I
family,
want to
government,
speak
and
to the
media.
family. I believe in family a lot.
Okay.
And I believe that whatever family churns out,
In a few seconds.
whatever family churns out becomes the reflection. See, children are the reflection of the adults around them. So when you see adults, you see children. You have to put that at the back of your mind, that it is what you have that you can give. Thank you.
All right, Mary.
Okay, I would. She has spoken about the family, so let me focus on other agencies.
Okay.
You know, one of the agents. There's an agency for health professionals, bringing a lot of health professionals together to help people. Organizations can leverage on their access to the minds of young people. You know, the government can leverage on their access to the minds of young people. The internet can leverage on their access to the minds of young people, and then channel this information. Keep saying it.
All right.
Keep saying it. Someday it will yield the required results.
All right, I will stand on that and we'll say keep saying it, and definitely one day it will yield results. Thank you so much. That is where we get to wrap it up, this edition of Your Viewpoint. Be sure to join us next time, same station, and of course we will be back. Again, I am Rotimi Akizde. Remember to join us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at @your_viewpoint. I am Rotimi Akizde. Bye for now.